Welcome to episode 147 of the XS Noize Podcast. I'm Mark Millar. Thanks for listening. In this episode, I speak to Taylor and Lauren Johson of Brand New Friend about their brilliant third album, Grandstand. If you missed the previous episode, I spoke to Alex Slow from Hurricane No. 1. So check it out, and if you like the podcast, please subscribe on your favourite listening platform, give us a rating, and leave a comment. In 2015, the Johson siblings began making music in their family home on Northern Ireland's north coast. Within a few years, they went from playing their local pub in the sleepy village of Castle Rock to playing festival stages all over the UK and Ireland. Brand New Friend released their debut album, Seatbelts for Aeroplanes, in 2018, followed by the Cure for Living EP. And now they're back with Grandstand. In this interview, Taylor and Lauren Johson discuss the making of Grandstand, upcoming live shows, and lots more. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the XS Noize Podcast with Taylor and Lauren Johson from Brand New Friend. Hi Lauren, hi Taylor, welcome to the XS Noize Podcast.
Thank you so much for having us, Mark. We're buzzing.
Thank you so much, Mark. Good to be here.
It's great to have you. Loving the album, but before we get into that, I'd like to go back to the start. Can you remember the first band or artist that made you pay attention to music?
Made you pay attention? I love the way you phrased that question, Mark. For me, I think the first band that really made me think I want to be in a band were Paramore. And because before, when I was like a little girl in primary school, I would listen to like Beyonce and, a lot of pop music. But whenever I first came across Paramore, this was kind of the first time I really recall seeing a female fronted band. Really, it was the first one that really stood out to me and made me think, oh my gosh, wow, like that's a thing. I could do that one day. And yeah, they were instantly my favourites, and I've seen them loads of times, and they just have a real special place in my heart. So for me, it's definitely Paramore.
Well, Hayley Williams is like your hero.
100%, yeah.
And mine too. You could not love her. Mine was Oasis, Mark. Mine was Oasis. I wanted to be Liam Gallagher and still do a wee bit. I went to non-uniform days in school with a parka, sit right up to the top. That was like first year, the third year.
Actually true. I was on the bus beside him like Scudder.
It's really embarrassing now, but I still love Oasis, but as a kid it was massive. And then I got slightly older and discovered the Smiths, and that was it. And that kind of changed the trajectory of my life in a big way. So the cool answer is the Smiths, but the honest answer is probably the Gallaghers. It's probably Oasis was the first ones, I think.
That's still a cool answer in my book.
Yeah, well, I think Noel's writing some incredible music now. It's a song off that Council Skies album, which just blew my mind. It's a couple of them. They're really, really good. So he's a genius, and the Smiths, wow, even more so. But yeah, that'd be the first, I think.
What was the first song you wrote together that you thought, right, this is a really great song?
Oh, what question?
That's a good question, because there were songs that we wrote together, that maybe thought were great at the time, and then in hindsight we're kind of like, I would maybe say...
I think something from the new record.
Yeah.
I know that sounds maybe a bit mad, but I think we have a song in this album called Zero, Mark, and I remember Zero was a song Aaron, our guitar player, had wrote the whole instrumental right down to the horn section. He had everything composed, and then he came to us and he said, right, melody and lyrics please. And if you can remember, the three of us, me, Lauren and Aaron, and Logan actually, maybe, we sat in a room and wrote the whole song, and it took all day, and we just sat and played it over and over and over and over again. And then the next day we listened back to what we'd done and was like, that's terrible. It's awful. Let's start again. Because we loved the instrumental. We thought there was something really special in the song. So we wrote it twice. And the second day was the breakthrough. So it was tough and it was laboured, and it took a long time to get it right. And then when we sang the melody that became the melody, and Aaron wrote the final riff, I thought, wow, we have written a really great song here. And that's not to say the early ones weren't great songs in their own right as well. but we were kids and we were young and we were learning.
And this feels like a step up. You know, I think this is the first time I can really confidently say, like, we have, put absolutely everything into something and really came out with something that we're incredibly proud of.
But also, like, I mean, there's stuff in the first album too. There's a song called Sleep on My Floor, which I still think was good. A song called The Blame, which I still think was good. Had its merits, had its time. But in terms of, like, you know, what would I want to bring to Johnny Marr and say, Johnny, listen to my band? I'd want Johnny Marr to hear Zero. You know, that's the way I look at it.
Has music always been the career path you wanted to follow, or did you have other ambitions growing up?
Yeah, well, I think we've both always had a love for sort of media and broadcasting and journalism, and we both still do bits and bobs. You know, we are hoping one day we'd be in the lucky position to be able to just do music, perhaps as the sole thing. But in terms of things that maybe would have wanted to do when I was younger, gosh, I'm trying to think.
Well, I wanted to be Sir Trevor McDonald.
Yeah, you did.
Wow.
So he was, like, aside from music, Sir Trev was my hero.
You used to have a bit of an obsession with the news, though, as a kid. Like, I do remember, and we reference this in the album actually somewhere. That
the last song on the
um,
album talks about it. Actually,
Taylor couldn't sleep without sort of the rolling news in the background, and so I feel like you watched that, and that's when you were like, oh, I want to be a newsreader.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's completely true. I couldn't sleep without the 24-hour news, BBC or Sky News, or whatever. It had to be rolling, constant news. So if I woke up in the middle of the night, I would have that on, and I found newsreaders to be really comforting, and I don't know what it is, like the fact the news is constantly happening, it can never stop because there's always something happening. I don't really know. Yeah, haven't quite went to therapy yet and worked out why that's so comforting. But like as a child, I wanted to be a newsreader. I then
play for Arsenal,
or be in a band, and so far only one of those dreams is still been realized. Arteta hasn't phoned me up yet, but yeah, that was kind of the start of my life, was like about the news, and music was like this beautiful thing that we had on the outskirts, and just as we got older it became more and more prominent and more important, and it gradually became our lives, I think. Yeah.
I only found out recently that you got the name Brand New Friend from the song by Lloyd Cole and the Commotions. So what's the story?
Well, our dad is kind of the key person in that story, Mark. We have always grown up being obsessed with music, and that kind of comes from our dad. He loves music himself, and he always says he doesn't play guitar, but he plays a wee bit of guitar, I think.
He does.
Too modest.
He needs a bottle of wine in him, but he will then play, and he'll play well.
Yeah, and so he introduced us to a lot of music, and that was just one particular artist that he showed us, and we both really particularly loved that song. And he basically named the band. We were actually sitting in our old house in Castle Rock one evening and listening to vinyl, and I believe, if I'm recalling the story correctly, he just said one night, that'd be a really good name for a band. And at this point we'd been kind of toying with the idea of doing it. You'd been in other bands and stuff. So.
At that point of the story, Lauren was too young. Lauren was like, I don't know what age, 17 or something, 16, 17. So it was just me and my own. And I remember saying to my dad, I'm going to do this. And he said, don't just be another singer-songwriter. Don't just be Taylor Johnson. It's a boring name. And I said, well, okay, well, what name will I play under? And he mentioned this song, and he said, listen, I could imagine this being a band. And if you go for that name, then it could grow to be a band one day. So it was totally down to my dad. And I love Lloyd Cole as well. That's from the Easy Pieces album, but I had Rattlesnakes as well. And mainstream, I had all three of his records with the Commotions. But it just fit. As soon as he said it, I was like, yeah, well, it's far better than Taylor Johnson anyway. Do you know what I mean? So went for that.
Well, Brand New Friend are back with your third album. Can you believe it? Grandstand. Congratulations. It's an absolute banger. So when did it start?
2020-ish, sort of, I guess. Maybe shortly before that.
It's a bit of a weird one, Mark, because the record before this one, it's called The Cure for Living. and it kind of is an album. It's kind of an EP. It's kind of like a long EP. It's weird. It got lost in amongst COVID. It's our COVID record. It's kind of this wee shadow of an album that just kind of exists but also doesn't exist. So we were writing songs for Grandstand kind of during that time, really. Like it's been a constant building process for about 3 years of writing and rewriting. And funny enough, we were talking about this earlier. I found all these different books. But as we were moving house, we just moved to a new house, and I found all these books that I'd written with track lists for Grandstand. At the start, it said Grandstand, next album, and I think literally of all the songs, one survived over the course of the 3 years. One of the original songs survived, and the rest were all gone. So that's like, I think we've easily written 100 songs for Grandstand.
It would have been around that, I think. Yeah,
easily written
a lot
more than
of
100
writing
songs.
and demoing and recording, and songs maybe we thought were brilliant, then we kind of listened back and thought maybe it's not up to scratch. And there was people who were quite helpful to us at the time, kind of helping us whittle it down a bit. And
I think, and Lauren will keep me right here, I think what helps, Mark, is we were really hard on ourselves. You know, we scrutinized everything. We needed it to be a certain standard.
Is that more than you've ever done before? Like, was it a completely different writing process compared to the last two albums?
Definitely, mate. It was more collaborative. So, I have always been lucky enough that the guys have trusted me to write a lot of lyrics, and that's a privilege for me that they trust me to do that. But the actual songwriting of this album was very much 5 people. So that was me and Lauren. Luke, Aaron, and Logan have all written. Like we said, Zero, that was 90% Aaron. And that's my favourite song we've ever done. You know, Luke has wrote a lot of lyrics for this album. Logan has written, you know, that song Lucky on the album, which might be a single. That's one of Logan's babies, you know. So this is the sound of the band, Brand New Friend, more than any other, I think. And that's been really critical, Lauren, hasn't it?
Yeah, and it takes a while, I think, to get to the point where you can do that almost. You know, when we started the band in our very, very early days, a lot of us were teenagers. Like, we were just kind of young kids, kind of working out how to be a musician, how to be in a band.
Totally.
And I think in order to get to a place where you can truly collaborate and be creative and listen to each other's ideas and not necessarily bin something straight away, but work on it and tweak it, and it's a skill I think you have to learn almost, and
you have to be tight as mates too. You have to be, you know, I'm sure you know this yourself, Mark, you know, talking to bands and being so involved in music. If you don't have a trust in each other and you can't be honest to each other, it's not going to work.
And you can't have an ego.
Oh no, yeah. And we ripped into each other in a nice way over the course of writing this album. You know, not in a never ripped in.
That was maybe a harsh way of phrasing it, but
didn't phrase that great. But I mean, like, you know, we've been very, very honest with each other, and you can't take it personally because it's all for the greater good of the band. And when you understand that more now than we ever have,
and that's how you get an end product that everybody's happy with.
Oh yeah, totally.
What inspired the lyrics in this album? What was do you have any like rituals or routines you follow to get into the creative mindset when working on new music?
That's a great question.
Yeah, I really like the way you phrased that. That's really thoughtful. For this album, actually, one thing that we think is quite cool about it is that, well, me and Taylor both read a lot. We're both kind of nerdy that way. And so a lot of inspiration for me came through reading and through literature. And so we actually, on the sleeve of the vinyl itself, you can pull it out, and we have a little kind of works cited section where we've put like books that actually influence some of the lyrics that are on the albums. People can actually go and see which ones and maybe check them out themselves. So authors like Joan Didion were quite important for me. You read a lot of local authors as well, people from Northern Ireland, like Wendy Erskine,
Lucy Caldwell, yeah, like Susanna Dickey. There's loads of brilliant writers from here. A lot of female writers from here who are just outstanding. Michael McGee is another one. He wrote a book recently that I've just been obsessed with. And we went to a couple of. Remember, we went to that writing conference.
It was like a Belfast Book Festival. Yeah, you got to fangirl over some of your favorite authors. I met
Wendy Erskine And I freaked out. I freaked out.
Got your book signed and all?
She signed my book. Lucy Caldwell too was there. Michael McGee was there. They were lovely. And to me, like, authors are the real rock stars. Like, I mean, they are geniuses, actual geniuses.
So reading, that definitely helps us get into that creative mindset, you know, immersing yourself in a different sort of world almost. And even just sort of turns of phrase and certain ways of crafting imagery. I think Kieran Lavery actually gave you really good advice once, if I'm recalling it correctly, about how your lyrics should almost paint a picture.
Grandstand was produced by Danny Ball. So what did he bring to the table in the sessions?
He brought loads, didn't he, Lauren? He brought loads. Danny was pivotal in the whole process. Just, you know, he was a fifth member of the band in many ways. He was sixth member of the band. Sorry, Logan. Danny was. He was very honest with this. He inspired Aaron a lot because they spent like full days doing guitar sounds, banging things off walls, you know, creating these soundscapes that were, you know, out of context sounded bizarre and weird and a bit scary, but in the context of the songs just kind of brought them to life. And Lauren will keep me right here, but I feel like he totally encouraged us to experiment more than ever before and said, you know, Brand New Friend can be whatever you want it to be. You're not confined by any preconception of what your band is. It's a chance to show people what you really love and what you really want to do. And he kind of helped us bring that out. Is that fair? Yeah,
definitely. You know, it's much more of a three-dimensional sound. That's something that we really wanted to get with the album. And he definitely helped bring that to life. And Aaron, actually, in the band, he, over the course of writing the album, basically taught himself how to produce and sort of engineer and mix music. So it was brilliant for him to then come into the sessions, and he sat in on a lot of Danny even mixing the album just to kind of learn from him and learn techniques. And that's really developed Aaron's skills as a producer as well. And he's credited as a co-producer on the album as well, because a lot of the actual stems, a lot of the stems of the demos, some of them made them into the final recordings as well. So
that's a really good point. Actually, that's quite cool. So like a lot of the stuff that I'm kind of repeating Lauren's point, but she's reminded me of how cool that is. A lot of stuff that Aaron did in those early days, Mark, ended up on the album. So stuff that we did in our wee practice space that we thought the only people that will ever hear this is us and our managers actually have made it on to the vinyl, the final record, you know, which is amazing for Aaron. Actually, it's massive kudos.
Great that Danny's a producer that's open to that as well, you know, in collaboration, and wasn't precious about
exactly
letting us kind of go mad on it.
yeah, big time.
The production sounds great on it, and it's a lot more mature album from you guys, you know, and there's so many brilliant songs on the album. So let's talk about some of them. The first single from the album was Talk It Out, which was also the first track written by Lauren.
Yeah.
It is indeed, yeah. In the past, Mark, as we said, Taylor would always take the lead on songwriting, and I was always very much happy to kind of write my parts on the keys and then leave the kind of lyrics and melodies mainly to Taylor. Talk It Out was definitely the first one that I felt kind of confident enough to just put a bit more of my stamp on it. So we were writing it, I believe, in our old practice space, which was like a big warehouse. Because during COVID, we couldn't really get into any of our normal rooms, any of the proper sort of studios and things in Belfast. So when the restrictions eased up a bit, we were able to get down, and it was a family friend actually had like a builder's yard and had a warehouse in it. So we pushed a lot of our gear into this warehouse and made a little makeshift practice space. And we were running through that song and kind of had got a bit of an instrumental going. And yeah, I was able to take a bit more of a lead on it and write the top line. And
Mark, I'll tell you something. It was really, really annoying because I thought I'd written the song, right? I thought I had a hit. And turned around to the guy and said, "What do you think?" And Lauren went, "Yeah, it's good. But can I just try something that I've been writing?" So she was writing this song kind of on the sly, didn't really say anything. We're like, okay, we'll run it again. Ran it from the top. Lauren sang that melody, pretty much the finished product all in one go. And we just turned around to each other and we're like, she's done it, you know, she smashed it. So fair play to Lauren. I think your confidence as a songwriter is vast now, like vastly better compared to when we started. You know, she's smashing it.
And how did you feel, Lauren, when everybody loved it?
Oh, it was brilliant. Yeah, Mark, because I would always in the past really kind of, even though, we're all best friends and we all get on so well, but I always had a wee bit of nerves when it came to showing my ideas to everybody, especially when it came to like lyrics and things. So I was a bit nervous that day. And I actually remember before I sang it and kind of showed everyone, I said, you were going outside for just to get some fresh air. And I said, I'll go out with you. And grabbed your acoustic guitar and sort of I showed you before I showed everybody else.
Yeah.
But kind of wanted to get your opinion on it first. So Taylor was great and then kind of said, this is class, let's go and show everybody. And everyone loved it and it was really nice. Yeah, definitely helped me get rid of a bit of imposter syndrome, that kind of thing where you think, oh, I'm not good enough at this, or I can't do it. It was actually helpful and helped me kind of put that to the side.
Yeah. And it was the first single. It's a great track.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I wasn't expecting it to be a single, never mind the first one. So it was a great moment when I found that out.
Stars Bleed. It's another great track. It was your second single. What can you tell me about that?
Stars Bleed, Mark, was one that I'd done on the acoustic. It's probably, in terms of the writing process, it's probably the most old school style for me in terms of writing it. Because I picked up my acoustic and kind of did it all in one go. I showed it to Aaron first. And I remember saying to him, this is a bit slower. This is a bit more like bands like Pavement. This is a bit more kind of slacker originally. What do you think? And, he responded really positively to that. And the guys then responded really positively to that. Which was great. I wanted the right kind of a country kind of song. I think there's a bit of country influence all through the album, actually. I love country music. And that was my attempt to write kind of a Stephen Malcolmus, Pavement D, slacker song with some country riffs. And hopefully that comes across. Yeah, I was happy with it.
My favourite song on the album is Grandstand, the title track.
No way!
Yeah. Tell me a bit more about that. Love it.
It's one that's a bit different, and
that's
it was
Lauren's
actually
least favourite.
It's lower down on my list. So I would say I don't like it. I love all the songs, but I have other favourites, put it that way. But that's one that Danny Ball, actually our producer, that was his favourite one. And with that one, I think Aaron said that sonically they were going for
Death Cab for Cutie,
that kind of vibe. Something a bit more sparse and a bit more minimal maybe than anything we'd done in the past. So production-wise, that was some of the reference points we were going for. But
Mark, see the solo at the end of that song? Champagne Supernova.
Yeah.
That's what we were for. It's funny, it's we didn't realise that when we wrote it, but like it's kind of it's in the key of A, I think. So it's in the same key as Champagne Supernova. And when Aaron did the solo, I went, whoa, that's weird. There's a bit of Oasis in that, which is unusual because the whole track doesn't sound anything like Oasis, but this one moment does, and that's a lovely throwback to what we talked about earlier. Yeah, I really, really love that song, and it's one that no one has actually picked up on that and said that to us yet. So I really appreciate that you've said that, because the title of the album was always going to be Grandstand. That was it. Like it was the first thing I wrote down for this album. I loved it.
Why that title?
Because I love Des Lynam. I do. I love him.
I was actually going to say, is it anything to do with the TV show Grandstand? And I thought, there's no way that wouldn't be true. But it is.
No, I was too young for the 1990 World Cup. I was a bit away from being born, but like I love the nostalgia of that tournament, and I love Gaz's tears. So Bobby Robson dancing on the touchline, Des Lynam with his mustache, presenting the coverage, the San Siro. Like, there's something really beautiful about that summer. That's a nostalgic summer, a beautiful, perfect summer that I don't know. I was like, I want the heart of this album to be the Italian 90 World Cup. And Grandstand was, I don't know. And to me, it was us flexing our muscles a wee bit, saying, we're growing up. We're a stronger band. We're grandstanding.
For me, obviously, I didn't really pick up on that as much. You told me and stuff, and I was aware of the TV show and stuff. But when you showed it to me at first, I was kind of like, it's kind of weird. Like, it's a bit random name for an album. But I knew we wanted something that was one word, because we hadn't had anything in the past that was one word. And I just thought, even just the way the word sounded to me, it sounded quite strong, and it sounded quite almost grandiose, and made me kind of, I don't know, I just felt like it fit really well. And we all just kind of heard it and went, yeah, that just feels right for this album to be called that.
I thought it could be the title of a book. I have never written a book. I probably never will, because you have to be very smart to do that. But I thought it sounded like the title of a really cool book. And I don't know, that was it. But again, I really appreciate that you've picked up on that. I think that's class.
Great. I'm just loving the origin story. What's the most memorable story or memory you have from recording the album?
Recording the album was funny because we recorded it in Danny Ball's studio. So it's called Oil Tape Studios in Belfast. And the live room is very small. There's like the live room and then like a little adjoining room. And it's not a big, massive studio. But it's a superb studio. But the nature of it, we kind of didn't all tend to pile in there at the same time. We would kind of come in smaller groups to track our parts and kind of piece it together, which is a bit different to sometimes in the past. It was just us all getting in a room and just playing. So we went for a slightly different approach. So there was different kind of moments. Wasn't very frequent that we were all there at the same time. Do you remember anything in particular that you really liked? Was it when you were out singing in the stairwell and recording vocals there and stuff like that?
That was cool. Yeah, for me, it was the last song in the album is called The Dream We're In. And there's a bass part that Logan plays, and it's one of the final things you hear on the album. It's like a kind of, I don't know, to me it sounds like a Radiohead kind of riff that Logan plays on the bass. And I remember being there for the recording of that song. And I remember Aaron playing the riffs at the end, and I remember Logan playing that bass riff. And it was really like chills, like, God, this is perfect. This is it. This is everything I hoped this song would be. It's the final touch of the album. So there was a cool moment there. I also remember at the start of the process, I was there for when Luke did the intro to Dino on the drums. It's a big, long drum intro, and it's pounding, and it brings the album to life. And I remember being there for Luke playing that and thinking, wow, that's again exactly what we need. So there was a couple of moments that felt right, but the whole process was just fun. The whole process was good, and Danny was a pleasure to work with. I had a laugh with him.
He really shares our sense of humour as well, which is great. We all just sort of...
He's a weirdo. He's a total... Danny Ball's a weirdo, and so are we. Yeah, so we absolutely just loved it, I think.
I like the album sleeve. Really like it. Is that your hometown of Castle Rock?
It's not, actually. It's not...
But we wish it was. It would be a cool story.
It would be a very cool story.
But we'll have to be truthful.
Yeah, no.
The actual story is quite cool, though.
Yeah, well, it's Brighton Beach. It's somewhere in Brighton Hove. A girl who I was very friendly with at school, Anna Aiken. She is kind of an amateur photographer. And Logan is a friend of hers as well. Follows her on Instagram, and she posted just like a summer dump on Instagram, and this image was one of the things she posted, and Logan just sent it to me straight away and said, Anna's taking this picture and it just looks like Grandstand to me.
Yeah, and it was a funny one because we had actually been finding it really hard to get artwork that we all liked. That's one thing about being in a band with your siblings and just with your mates. It's sometimes difficult to make those decisions where you just need to have a call, and everybody kind of has to be on the same page about it. You know, we all wanted everyone to love the album artwork, and people were sending each other ideas and what about this photo? What about this artwork? What about if we did an illustration? What if we did this? And nobody was ever happy with the same thing.
Yeah.
But when we saw that photo, we were just like, that's it. It's a film photo. So I think that the graininess of it adds to that kind of nostalgia that we wanted to evoke with the album. And one of the albums that we always come back to as a wee bit of a reference point is So Much for the City by The Thrills. And we loved their artwork where they're all sitting on the beach. And we didn't want to be on the picture for ours, but wanted something that had that kind of nostalgic feeling to it, just like their record. So we saw that photograph, and you'd kind of lost touch with Anna. You hadn't spoken to her in years. So it was nice to have this photograph kind of just almost disappeared, and it was instantly the right one.
And do you know what? I would love to, I haven't even, since we agreed the artwork and all that kind of stuff, I haven't spoken to Anna, and I'd love to actually, see what she thinks Like, does she like it? Does she? I'm
I
not.
think she does.
I'm not.
She gave us permission to use it.
Yeah, but I don't think she's seen the final. I don't think she saw the final artwork or anything. Maybe she has. I don't know. But it's just funny that she was just literally on the beach with her friends, took this photo, thought nothing more about it, and now it's a photo that for the rest of our lives, it'll always mean something to us. It's really weird the way the world works sometimes. Strange.
Yeah, it's great artwork, and there's me thinking it was Castle Rock. But if you were to comment on TripAdvisor to encourage people to visit Castle Rock, what would you say?
Oh, it's the greatest village in the world. It's the best. It's the best place in the world. It's got the best pub in the world, Bertha's Bar. It's got the cleanest beaches, great people, kind people, fresh sea air, and then it's a home of brand new friends. So I mean, what more could you possibly want from a seaside?
Brand New Friend will be playing a few live shows this month and in October, which includes a show at the Limelight in Belfast. Are you looking forward to getting back out onto the road?
Oh, we can't wait, Mark. Yeah, I mean, some of our best memories, just full stop, of being in Brand New Friend are being out there and playing gigs, and even for me, the bits in between, which a lot of people don't like, the slog of kind of all the traveling and touring, is something that we've always just really had great crack and really enjoyed. Driving even hours through the night, to get from one place and getting the ferry over and stopping at the service stations. It's so boring. But
what's the best service station? Cheveley?
Oh gosh, I don't even remember the name.
Cheveley services. Unbelievable. Great McDee's in there.
Oh dear me. But those moments, we just managed to absolutely have a laugh, and our dad comes with us. He is our driver a lot of the time on tour, and will be the one doing those long drives through the night and stuff. But it means a lot to us to have him with us, and we all just go and have the absolute best crack. But being on stage again as well is just going to be an amazing feeling, so we cannot wait.
Is there any particular place you're looking forward to playing most, a particular venue or whatever?
Great question again. Cork. I love going to Cork. That's the first one in the tour. It's just been a while since we were back there, so I'm looking forward to doing it. Belfast, obviously. Dublin, obviously, are always.
You're going to just name every date, I'm sure.
London, obviously. Bristol. I mean, come on. I love all the ones over here. Glasgow is always banging as well.
And because we're Arsenal fans, we always love getting over to London. We always try and make a pilgrimage over to the Emirates and hang out there for a bit. So yeah,
well, Highbury. You go to the old Highbury ground and stand outside it. It's incredible. But I think the whole thing, Mark, for us is like, this album has been 3 years in the making. It's been a long slog to get here, and even though it may not be the longest tour in the world, this one will probably mean more to us than any that we've ever done before, because we've worked harder for it than any before. Is that fair enough?
Yeah.
And anyone who comes to those shows, I can guarantee, is going to have a really, really good time. Is going to love it, and it's going to live with them. And we're going to be grateful for every single person who shows up. It's going to mean so much to us, and hopefully we're kind of taking them on a wee bit of a journey. And this is the starting gate of that journey. And if you want to be a part of it, please come see us.
If people want to understand the music of Brand New Friend, what are the 5 songs they should listen to?
What a question. Zero. Mm-hmm. Zero is the one. The Dream We're In.
Mm-hmm. You're just going to pick your 5 favourite songs.
Well, sorry.
No, I'm joking.
Talk 5 each.
We'll do 5 each. Okay, go.
Okay, well, I'll go Zero, The Dream We're In, Talk It Out.
Well, I've got 2 here that I think are, and they're not on this record, but if they want to understand the story of Brand New Friend, like the journey of Brand New Friend, there's one that I think gets overlooked actually quite a lot, and we've been bringing it back recently in a live setting. It's a very, very short song on our second EP, our second EP on A Cure for Living, and it's called, and I always get the name wrong. You
can't know everything. I don't know anything.
That's it. And it's a very short, it's almost like an interlude, and it's really just Taylor with the guitar and me doing a bit of backing vocals. And I think that song is really special, actually. And it's a song that stretches back quite far. It was quite an old song, even when it even dates back before that EP came out. It's one of the very, very early songs you ever wrote, really.
Before the start of Brand New Friend.
Yeah.
It goes back to my first band when I was 18. Long time ago. I didn't think you'd say that.
I've always loved it, you see, and I always think that it's a really special song, and it helps that it is, one that you wrote so long ago. So I think that it's a really important one to mention. And I would also then throw in Plastic Flowers as well, is a song on that same EP. And for me, I think that was like us taking our baby steps into our sort of new sound that we've fully formed now. It was kind of just the early stages of us getting really inspired by bands like The National and Death Cab for Cutie and sort of American indie bands that really shaped our songwriting. And I think that that's more developed now on Grandstand, but that song was like us starting to shape that and starting to really become the band that we are now, I guess. So
that's a great answer.
I think that'd be 2 as well.
I think
that's 5, right? You said 3, I said 2.
I think you nailed that.
Definitely did.
Oh, that's good. I want to go and listen to them now.
Yeah.
In the music industry, there's often challenges and obstacles. What's been the most significant hurdle you've faced as a band, and how did you overcome
it? What have we not had to overcome is the question.
Well, that's the thing with us. I think that people maybe don't really know, and we'll not go into like super detail on certain things, but it's not necessarily been really linear, streamlined. Start a band, start taking off, play loads of gigs, boom, you're done. We have had sort of ups and downs, and the really boring thing to say would be COVID and obviously stopping gigging and having to kind of put the brakes on for a while. But that almost came at a kind of a good time for us, because I think we were at a bit of a crossroads in that we knew that we didn't really want to keep making the music that we had previously been making, or maybe that sound, we'd kind of outgrown it. And it was a bit of a transitional time for us, just in terms of some behind the scenes stuff and kind of knowing where to go and where to really take the band. And so that time for us was like a little pause button. And then we were actually able to, it kind of brought us in with the management that we're with now, who are Third Bar, and they're absolutely like an amazing team that we really love working with. And they kind of took us on at a time where I don't think a lot of bands were getting signed in 2020, but they believed in us and saw something in us. So they kind of helped us through that little blip where we weren't really sure where to go or what to do and kind of what to do next with Brand New Friend, and supported us, in that journey. So Davey Matchett and Candice and Gary Lightbody were really instrumental in helping us get through that really rough time, and then kind of come out with this album at the end of it. So that would be sort of my answer to that question. Taylor, do you want to add anything?
No, that's it. Yeah, loads of mad things, Mark, but we are just, our whole thing is we prioritize the survival of the band over all else and our friendships within it. So as long as we're still together making music, we'll be all right. And we've kind of proven that. Just the creation of this album proves we can overcome anything, really, I think, as long as we love it. And that's it. There's lots of stuff, but we're all right. We're doing okay.
Well, on that then, what advice would you give aspiring musicians and bands who are just starting their journey in the music industry in Northern Ireland?
Amazing question. I think I know straight away. I would just say keep writing songs. The songs matter more than anything else. It's just the key thing is write songs that you love and that you're passionate about and that mean something to you. As long as you do that, you will be okay. Always.
And there's lots of things now, sorry to cut across you, but there's lots of things now that can kind of almost cloud that a bit. Yeah. You see bands that the first thing they do is make their social media and, make their TikTok and Instagram and stuff, which is obviously very important and something that you need to build an audience and connect with people. But there's no point having, a few followers on Instagram or whatever, or TikTok, when your band doesn't have any songs yet. So I think that that's something that is really important, that's the most important thing over everything else, isn't it? Just don't forget why you started a band. You didn't start a band, for anything other than you needed to say something. There was something inside you that you needed to do it. Can that sound maybe a wee bit, I don't know, silly, but I think just
keep writing songs and keep being honest, and you'll be okay. That's got to be it.
But brand new friend, you started making music in 2015, playing in your local pub in Castle Rock. You went from playing festival stages all over the UK and Ireland, playing your own shows, and also supporting Snow Patrol, Lewis Capaldi, Ash, and lots more. And now you're just about to release your third album, which is amazing. So, what's been your highlight so far?
Oh, wow, there's been a few things. We've been very lucky. For me, Ward Park with Snow Patrol there, Ward Park 3, was it?
Yeah.
Ward Park 3, yeah. I forget how many times they've done it now. Was an amazing highlight for us, because that was just shortly after our younger brother Logan had really only just joined the band. We always kind of laughed and called him the fifth Beatle, because back in 2015, whenever we started Brand New Friend, Logan wasn't really old enough to join. He was only like 13 or 14, and he's always loved music. And a lot of the time he would come to our band practices, just kind of sit and hang out with us, because he just loved music.
Yeah.
And we always kind of thought, one day, Logan, when you get old enough to get into any of the venues that we play, you can come in. And so he was like 16 at that point when we did Ward Park. And so he'd only really played maybe 1 or 2 gigs before that with us, and then was kind of in the middle of his GCSEs, and he got to, play on the main stage at Ward Park with Two Door Cinema Club and Snow Patrol and Ash and all these amazing artists. So being able to experience that with him was really special for me, and that was such a phenomenal day and celebration, of talent from Northern Ireland. So that's always one day that sticks in my head as like one of the best.
I mean, yeah, I was just going to say Logan joining the band was my highlight, because that was it complete then, the second Logan joined and we became the 5, that was it. We'd done it. And that was pretty special. And all the gigs, I wouldn't say, I love them all, Even
the small ones.
Yeah, sometimes the small ones are better. There's really sweaty ones. The big ones are class, but see the small ones where you can see every single person in the front row or whatever. I don't really. I couldn't pinpoint one thing for you, Mark. But if I had to, I would say Logan joining the band is my favorite moment.
Where do you see the band going in the next few years? What ambitions do you have going forward?
We'll just want to continue to be a band. I think in 2023 and moving forward now, the way music is and the way the world is, keeping your band alive is such an achievement. It's an underrated achievement because it's so difficult. It's so hard. So for me, it's after this album, make the next album better. And we've already started writing what will be the next album. Record that. Get it out into the world, make the next one, record that, get out into the world, do the next one, keep making albums that are really good and get bigger and better and better and better and better in terms of quality, until we're a really internationally successful, famous superstar band. But just keep the band alive, I think. Is that fair enough?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Keep making records.
Just a few more questions, guys. I like to ask my guests the following questions. For us music fans, music is the soundtrack to our memories. What song or album, when you listen to it, brings back the best memories for you?
Oh, I love that question. For me, to jump straight in, I've already mentioned them, but
I know what you're going to say.
The Thrills. We think they're an underrated band, and not a lot of people really talk about them so much anymore.
They're the most underrated Irish band ever, I think.
Yeah.
I think they only did 1 or 2 albums, didn't they?
Yeah.
3 albums.
Three.
So Much for the City, Let's Bottle Bohemia, and Teenager. And there are 3 perfect records. And for some reason, I don't think people get them. I don't know. I know they were big after their first album, but they kind of, popularity-wise, they dropped off. And we talk about them an awful lot. We played a gig actually recently in the Ulster Sports Club, like a wee kind of secret surprise gig, and we covered a Thrills song. Not for all the love in the world. And I don't know. I think if Elvis had sung that song, it would be massive. It's just so gorgeous.
Yeah. So lots of memories listening to that first Thrills album with our mum and dad, and in our old house, and listening to that album even on holiday. Our mum and dad would always bring a CD player on holiday back in the 2000s. and bring a couple of CDs with them and play them in the hotel room and on the balcony, and they would always have that one on. So for me, that's a very nostalgic album and a really special, and I think it's probably the same for you.
I'm going to say the exact same. So Much for the City by the Thrills, and if the Thrills are listening, get back together, please.
Big Sur, what a track.
Perfect pop song.
Perfect, yeah, like Beach Boys, the Irish Beach Boys. That's what I always say.
What song or album is your guilty pleasure?
Well, I kind of don't believe in guilty pleasures. I kind of think even if something's really cheesy or something's a bit, geeky, I think you should wear it proudly. And for me, Mark, I am a big boy band fan. I love One Direction and Harry Styles. So the guys don't like me talking about this in band interviews because they're like, you're going to make us sound really uncool. But I guess some people would class it as a guilty pleasure, but me and my friends, whenever we were in school,
you're a Directioner.
Yeah, we were Directioners, and we would go and queue up for hours, to get to the front row and scream our heads off. So for me, it's really anything by One Direction.
Yeah.
To be fair, they're my guilty pleasure.
Yeah. I love Robbie Williams. Escapology. What a record. Brilliant.
You always bring Robbie Williams out in karaoke.
It's fantastic.
I have to say, Feel's a great track off that album, I have to say.
Oh, yeah. Feel, How Peculiar.
Yeah.
What a song. I used to play that song for Logan when Logan was a wee boy, and for years I told him that it was some like obscure Swedish indie band wrote this song because his voice is all distorted on it, and Logan believed it. For years, and would like play the song. I made up a name for the band. I can't remember what it was, but Logan would be like, I love this band. And then one day one of his mates was like, I think that's Robbie Williams.
I have to say, he does have some belters.
Yeah. I think he's class. So, yeah, don't feel that guilty about it, but love him.
So, guys, is there anything else you would like to mention before we wrap up?
Just, please come and see us. We're poor, hungry musicians, and we need your money and we need your love.
The world's tiniest violin, Taylor.
Please love us. This tour is starting quite soon, the end of September into October. There are tickets available, and we'd love to see you. And the album is out. Grandstand exists. Okay, brilliant. Grandstand exists. It's out there. It's real. If you have a chance, we listen to it. You might fall in love with it. We're really, really proud of it. And thank you to you again, Mark, for chatting to us. It's been really, really fun, and the questions have been unreal. We really appreciate it.
100%, yeah. Thank you.
Not a problem. Always a pleasure.
Lovely to meet you. I'll let you go and enjoy your match.
Aye.
Speak soon.
Take care, Mark.
All right. Enjoy yourselves.
See you later.
You've earned it, mate.
Take it easy.